Last week, we shared information about the Lava Cap Mine Superfund site near Nevada City and the major environmental cleanup planned for the former mine. Today, we're continuing that conversation with a closer look at the cleanup process and the next phase of work, including a wetland-based system designed to treat contaminated mine water. Joining us is Alexandra Oppelt, Remedial Project Manager with EPA Region 9. Welcome, Ali.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming down to the studio. Okay, so this is interesting. This has a history to it, right?
Yes.
So I did a little bit of research, and I can see that the site occupies about 33 acres in western Nevada County, and it was originally a group of separate mines that consolidated and operated by the Lava Gold Mining Company, right?
Yes.
Lava Cap Gold Mining Company in the 30s and early 40s. And employed more than 300 men at its peak just before World War II. So this has been here for a while.
It has. Actually, its history mirrors that of nearby Empire Mine, which our local viewers will probably be familiar with.
Yes.
Both mines started operations in the late 1800s and continued those operations up until they were shut down by federal order in order to support the World War II mine efforts.
And they were shut down quite a long time ago, too. I mean, we've been waiting for this cleanup for quite a while, right?
That's true. They were shut down in the 1940s.
Mm-hmm.
However, the EPA wasn't involved in this project until the late 90s,
right.
About the turn of the millennium.
I can see that the Superfund listed in the 1990s, and there was a controversy surrounding a proposal to reopen the mine, and then it was followed by the EPA Superfund list, that this site got put on that list.
Yes.
Right.
And let me provide a little bit of context about how it ended up on that list. So as we discussed, the mine operated from the late 1800s until the 1940s, where it sat without operation, like you said, until the flood of 1997.
Oh.
This was New Year's Day. There was a lot of flooding in the region. And one of the impoundments that held the mine tailings are anything that is not the usable ore that gets shipped off.
And it could be toxic.
Yes.
Okay.
They have arsenic. They're arsenic laden.
Mm-hmm.
So the mine tailings on site were held in place by a log dam from the 1930s until 1997, when that log dam failed. That sent mine tailings downstream into Little Clipper Creek and into the yards of several properties downstream. It was that event that changed the site from being a historic mine site to being an environmental contamination problem, which led to its list on the Superfund site in '99.
Okay, interesting. And now there are one of the lakes that, or I guess ponds or big lakes or big ponds that the water contaminated. There are still residents who live around this lake.
That's true. So during the mining, the miners just shoved those tailings into the watershed.
Yeah.
But they were only worried about one thing, and that was what was making them money, and the tailings were not it.
Right.
So they got shoved off and basically forgotten about, except for anytime they would impact production. So the miners made the impoundment I discussed before, that log dam across Little Clipper Creek, and they had also created a second impoundment about 1.5 miles downstream, which is Lost Lake that you're discussing now.
Lost Lake,
yes.
Yeah, I know where that is. I have a friend who lives out there.
Yes, and so Lost Lake was actually created in the 30s by the miners.
Yeah.
It was a tailings impoundment. There are still tailings from that time in Lost Lake. Obviously, the flood of 1997 added tailings to Lost Lake. And so when the US EPA came in to address this site, we have a policy of starting with the highest contamination, highest risk first. So we started at the mine with the tailings that had escaped. Shortly following the 1999 listing, EPA performed a series of what we call time-critical removal actions. And these are things EPA does very quickly in order to manage imminent threat to human health and the environment. So we deployed teams in order to excavate the mine tailings from those homes' front yards. They didn't ask for 2 feet of mine tailings, and they didn't want to keep them. And then in addition, in the Little Clipper Creek watershed, excavated all of those tailings, brought them back to site, combined them with what had not escaped,
Yes.
And stabilized those on site in order to address the direct contact risk and also to prevent any future blowout release scenarios. So that was step one. And then following that, US EPA's next effort was to look at drinking water in the immediate area and make sure that we're protecting folks' drinking water. A couple of the homes where we had excavated the tailings from their front yard did have impacted residential wells, and US EPA brought NID, Nevada Irrigation District, to them and hooked them up. We at that time did a more extensive look and continue to monitor all downstream wells for impact. We have those additional wells have not seen impact to this point. If they did, we would facilitate hooking up to Nevada.
Wow, so this is a big project.
This is a big project.
And a long-lasting project.
That's right. It's been going on. EPA has been involved for a little over 25 years.
Yeah, so what's next? What happens? Tell me about, so what you were just explaining as far as stabilizing the tailings and such, is that the wetland-based treatment system you're talking about, or is that another part of the project?
Great question. That happened back in the early 2000s following this 1999 Superfund listing. And like I said, that was to ensure that there were no future releases that we're going to have to deal with. And then we turned our eyes to drinking water. Once we resolved that, we turned our eyes to the water that is actually discharging from the mine workings. So to this day, naturally occurring water is coming out of the mine workings. It's contaminated with arsenic, and it's running down into Little Clipper Creek.
Right.
The wetland that we're here to discuss is to treat that water and remove the arsenic before it reaches Little Clipper Creek. And that will require a series of processes, which I'm happy to get into.
Well, just give me a high level, like what is the treatment, is it a system or a physical place?
Yeah,
what is it?
Great. That is actually one of the things that makes the Lava Cap project significant. There are lots of standard practices that could achieve the outcome we need, which is water without high levels of arsenic and heavy metals.
That'd be nice.
However, all of those standard practices are a very mechanized system. So they're what you would traditionally think of as drinking water or wastewater treatment plants. They have high energy input requirements. They require high amounts of chemicals, and they have a much higher amount of waste that needs to be disposed of than where we ultimately landed.
Right.
And what we landed on is considered a semi-passive treatment system. And so most of its functionality is actually gravity fed.
I see. Okay. How long will this stage take?
We have finished the design, and we just started construction this year. We expect construction to be completed on this system in spring of 2028.
Okay, so it's going to take a couple years.
It will, and there's a couple stages to that, and why. Part of that has to do with the climate we live in. We get a lot of water during the rainy season, and the last thing we want to be doing is moving around mine tailings
when there's rain.
Got it. So we are a bit confined to the dry seasons in order to make sure that we are minimizing any potential risk when we do open up those mine tailings, because in order for us to make the semi-passive treatment system work, there are a couple components to that. The first part is our geochemistry at Lava Cap is different than the geochemistry of the nearby mines. I said earlier that Empire Mine and Lava Cap's history mirror each other, but their geochemistry does not. Much more cousins than sisters.
Okay, got it.
Empire Mine is blessed with iron in conjunction with its arsenic. And that is the major pathway for which we remove arsenic from water.
I see.
So the arsenic and the iron combine, and then they precipitate out or settle out of the water.
A little easier.
Exactly. So at Lava Cap, we don't have the iron, so we'll have to add it. So the beginning of our system, we add iron, we oxygenate, and then from that point forward, we let gravity take it from there, and it will run through a system, through a wetland, which is just kind of a lazy river for the arsenic. Yeah. And it will just precipitate out as it goes, and then we have designed the system so that by the time it reaches Little Clipper Creek, it will be meeting the water quality standards to discharge.
Who knew that this would be so fascinating? I know it's what you do.
Get into environmental engineering.
That's awesome. Really well explained. Okay.
And I think the big takeaway for the community that's maybe not huge environmental water quality nerds are the passive treatment system enabled us to reduce our energy load significantly. In addition, we're installing a solar array to help offset that load even more, right? And we've hardened the system. We are here in Nevada County, so it'll have a diesel generator backup, so it will still be treating water even when we have public safety, power shutoffs, or if the next snowmageddon comes, the water will still be getting treated. And we thought that was really important. Because it's mostly passive, that energy usage is real low, and we don't have the large amount of chemicals being transported to the site to treat the water, and we don't have the large amount of hazardous waste being transported off the site after the treatment is complete.
Right. Wow, really interesting. Well, can we touch back with you and see how the project's going down the road?
Absolutely, we would love
maybe
that.
we can get some good on-site videos. That'd be fun.
Yes, please come out and see what we've got going on.
Okay, thanks, Allie.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Keep us safe. Well, folks, thank you for watching this edition of Nevada County Now, your choice for local news brought to you by locals. We'd love your input about the show, what you would like to see on future shows, or if you would like to be a guest or contribute as a host, writer, or producer. Please email your ideas and suggestions to news@nevadacountytv.org. And please help us spread the word about Nevada County Now. Together we can keep our community informed. Until next time, have fun getting out there to explore all our community has to offer, and have fun at the fair.